and welcome to Escaping Kasterborous, the podcast where we rewatch, reminisce, and review everything Doctor Who from 2005 to present. My name is Rich, and I'm joined by the one person I would happily be stuck in an escape pod with dying. It's Amy.
Dying?
It's kind of like a sort of nice one, but also not, because we're gonna die.
No.
But we'll talk about banging in an escape pod in a bit.
I was going to say.
Because before we get on to I was about to say the word juicy. Maybe not juicy. But before we get on to the episode, which is 42 this time, a lot has happened in the Whoniverse since we were last here.
And most of it in the last few days.
Most of it within the last, 9 days. So, first of all, we had Legend of the Sea Devils.
Yes.
Which the review of that from me is on my YouTube channel. You might be on the YouTube channel right now watching the video version of this podcast. If you're on Anchor or you're on whatever your podcast platform is, search for Rich Hudson on YouTube. Go watch my review. It was an episode. That's about all I can tell you. But no,
it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great.
It wasn't bad, wasn't good. It was slap bang in the middle. No, the main thing that we need to discuss today, or the main things, is the 14th Doctor has been announced.
Yes.
And that is Ncuti Gatwa.
I am thrilled.
I have not seen Sex Education on Netflix, which is what he's most known for. He has won multiple awards, including a Scottish BAFTA for it.
It's literally the only thing he's known for.
Yeah, I know. He's done a couple of other bits as well, but that is what he's known for, hence why the Dirty Pig memes are just everywhere at the minute. Mm-hmm. But you're excited about this casting, Amy.
I love it. I mean, his emotional range in Sex Education is just so profound. Like, he plays the funny best friend, but he also plays the emotionally devastated, and he also plays the heartbreakingly terrified, because if you haven't seen Sex Education, highly recommend you go and watch it because it's incredible. But Ncuti's character in Sex Education is called Eric, and Eric's character is a gay character. Is Ncuti gay in real life?
Yes. Yeah, I believe he is.
I believe he is too. His character Eric is gay, and he is struggling coming to kind of Shut up. Struggling with coming to terms with the kind of balance between how he still inherits his kind of family culture of being African, as well as being himself and being gay and being kind of in the modern world with how he portrays himself. And he obviously at one point goes out in drag, and there's this whole scene with like a bloke catcalling him from the car thinking he's a woman, and then he goes, "Oh, you got a penis, miss," and stuff like that. And it's really like emotionally kind of heart-wrenching, because like all these sorts of things happen, and Sex Education is just so incredible. Like, I literally can't talk about it enough. I mean, yeah, okay, there's always going to be stuff to criticize about any TV show that you watch, but the Sex Education is so big because it's a sex education show, but it does it in a way that literally is like so enthralling to watch. Like, you're learning without realizing you're learning, but it's not like here's an educational point. It's basically like, it tells it through humor, it tells it through character arcs, it tells it through story development and like relationships and family relationships and just all sorts of like incredible things. And I highly, highly recommend you watch it. It's just had season 2, season 2 is out on Netflix. I believe season 3 must have finished filming by now, because if Ncuti's been cast in Doctor Who, and also one of the other characters was in Bridgerton on Netflix. So I think they've probably finished filming season 3, which I believe is going to be the last series. So if you're going to watch it, get on that, because the whole cast is just incredible, but Ncuti especially it's just funny. Like, it's a really, really funny, great show with such incredible characters, and I love it, and I can't say enough good words about it. And so I'm really excited for him.
That is who Russell has picked to be his first Doctor back since David Tennant. And speaking of David Tennant, he's back as well. Which is it's mad. So it was a week last Sunday that Ncuti Gatwa was announced as the Doctor, just as a tweet, and everyone was like, it was a tweet? why?
What?
And then in like an absolutely amazing, like, a fantastic way of doing it is that it turned out like that night was the BAFTAs, the TV BAFTAs, and on the red carpet there's Russell T Davies and Ncuti Gatwa together. No other celebrity got a look in with the press. They were just all over them of like, oh my god,
Yeah.
you're playing the Doctor. So the first black actor to play the title role of the Doctor, because obviously we have got Joe Martin as the fugitive
Yes.
Doctor in series 12 and 13. Obviously I don't want to say that the truthfulness of that Doctor character yet. We still kind of don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, not the point. But
Well,
also,
no, we kind of do know the truthfulness of her. She was a previous incarnation of the Doctor's
Yeah.
lives, so
but
not
there's
that the.
anyway, that
I know what you mean.
there's,
Yeah.
there's that's a whole other conversation to have at some point in the future about the legitimacy of all of that stuff, and we've still
Yeah.
got a special to go with Jodie and Chris coming at some point in autumn, October, apparently. Anyway,
Yeah.
So yeah, David Tennant is coming back,
Yes.
and alongside him is Catherine Tate as Donna.
Woohoo!
And when I saw when they announced it, this was the week after Ncuti Gatwa's announcement. It said, David Tennant, Catherine Tate coming back to Doctor Who, and it's kind of like it's weird. It's like I should have been more excited, but in reality, it's not the first time we've heard this because they've done a lot of Big Finish together. So when they say he's coming back to Doctor Who, it's like, yeah, but
In what respect?
what do you mean? And then when it's like, no, he's coming back to the show, like the series, it's like, oh, okay, that's a whole different kettle of fish. So David and
literally
Catherine
exploding.
are back, and literally as of was it Monday? It was Monday. Monday they started shooting in Camden,
Yes.
and
For context, it is currently Wednesday, the 18th of May.
it is currently Wednesday. They started shooting in Camden together, so there were people who were it was like somebody on Twitter whose friend works in an office overlooking a street that was blocked off by Bad Wolf Productions because the production company's been handed off entirely to
Yes.
Russell from the BBC,
Yes.
which is a very interesting development. I've got if you are watching this on YouTube and you watch my YouTube content, I have a script I've been working on, a video. The thing about not having time to do stuff like super on the fly with YouTube, my stuff is very late to the party. I've got a whole thing discussing all of that, but anyway, all these set leaks have been happening. We're seeing David Tennant and Catherine Tate. David's back in his costume. His hair is spiky again.
He's wearing a different coat, though, isn't he?
different suit, different coat.
Yeah.
His hair is actually spiked up. It's not down like it was in Day of the Doctor when he was last in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Catherine Tate's back. She looks like Catherine
Catherine
Tate.
Tate.
And then that Monday, because people were like, oh my God, it's 2 Sundays in a row and you've announced 2 things. And then Russell's cryptically said on Instagram, oh, I like my announcement on Mondays as well. So on Monday, that day when all these set leaks were happening, so much stuff was going on. Like people were like, what is this big announcement going to be? They've been teasing all these things with emojis. Ncuti Gatwa and Russell T Davies both posting the 2 hearts plus a blue box emoji everywhere. And then there's 2 hearts plus a diamond, which was what was used to announce for the diamond anniversary of the show, the 60 years, with David and Catherine, because supposedly what all this stuff is. Monday, Yasmin Finney posted on Instagram 2 hearts plus a rose. Mm-hmm. Oh no, not 2 hearts, a rose
No,
plus,
it was a rose
plus a blue diamond. And people were like, rose? As in, rose? But yes, but no. But yes, but no. So Yasmin Finney is a transgender actress
Yes.
who is in what's the series called again?
Heartstopper.
Heartstopper. There's so
Which-
many single word
Yeah.
series is at the moment that I just can't get my head around.
Which I need to watch because I watched the trailer for it earlier and it literally looks like my cup of tea.
Yeah. And she's apparently absolutely fantastic in that. And then that Monday night, she was announced as joining the cast for the 60th anniversary thing, because they've been using squares and diamonds in these emoji things, and the diamond means the anniversary. Her post was a diamond, so it's something to do with the 60th. And lo and behold, on Tuesday's shooting, there on set on the same street was Yasmin Finney alongside David Tennant, Catherine Tate, Bernard Cribbins,
Who I called Bibbins the other day by accident.
as Wilf. Wilf is back, which is great because
I
let's
love
face
him.
it, good old Bernard hasn't got that long left on this earth. They need to get him back in now. I think
He was in a wheelchair
He was in a
on set,
wheelchair on
wasn't he?
set, and it was also I can't remember their names, but we do have Sylvia Noble. So Donna's mum, and also Sean, Donna's husband, who she marries at the end of Time.
Yeah.
And there were lots of musings going around, with Yasmin Finney being a black trans actress playing, obviously playing a woman in the show, as to how this dynamic was going to work. And most of the theories has been that it's Donna and Sean's daughter. Mm-hmm. Because
who is also called Rose.
Who is also called Rose. And it's, again, we think it's something to do with like Rose's name being in the back of Donna's mind. Obviously, she's
Probably.
Donna and Rose's dynamic we'll discuss on Escaping Kasterborous when we get to Turn Left, which is in the next series of the show.
Oh.
And the name's supposedly there. So it's like people have been a bit up in arms about her playing Rose. It's like, yeah, but she's not playing Rose. They're not recasting Rose Tyler. Come on.
No.
Or at least we don't think they are.
I highly doubt it.
I don't think Russell would do that. I think that would be a very stupid move on his part. But basically, that was pretty much confirmed when, because the people were coming to, like, people were flocking Camden. Like, I've seen so many people on Twitter who are like Doctor Who fans who have just gone, shall I go to Camden today? Here we go. Yeah, and there they are taking pictures of David Tennant. Russell T Davies was there. Rachel Talalay is there. She's supposedly Rachel Talalay is probably the best director that the New Who has had.
Oh.
She's directed some absolutely astonishing episodes. All I need to say is Heaven Sent.
Oh, okay, fair.
There you go.
Fair.
She's directed some amazing stuff. So the fact that Rachel Talalay was there as well just makes everyone go, oh my God, this is Russell's back, David's back, Donna's back. You've got Yasmin Finney in, Rachel Talalay's in. Amy, am I dreaming?
It feels like we are. Like, genuinely, it feels like Russell has come in and he's gone, do you know what, friends? I am sorry. and he's been like, I'm sorry for ever leaving this show. And I am sorry for the mess you've had to endure over the past few years. So here's all these incredible announcements that I'm going to bring back to the table just to grind it in Chibnall's teeth that I am still the best showrunner this show has ever had. And here's incredible announcements that you're all going to absolutely adore. And I'm here for it. Like, my life feels like we're back in 2005.
It's crazy. Like, seeing these videos, seeing these pictures on set, and it's like, this is really happening. Mm-hmm. Like, it feels so different to the 50th.
Yeah.
Like, it does. Like, the 50th was massive. And, we went to the cinema in Coventry to see it, and it was fantastic being in the cinema and the reactions of seeing, archive footage of certain doctors, the first look at Peter Capaldi. And his eyebrows, like, that sent the theatre into overdrive. The curator coming back, Tom Baker being back, like, that was all amazing. But this, like, because of, it's like, I've been very vocal in my thoughts about the Chibnall era. It's
as have I.
It's kind of my job. It literally was my job.
It wasn't mine. I just have strong opinions.
I still do it now because I can. And it has its pros, it has its cons, but it definitely feels like the BBC have acknowledged the fact that they were like, okay, this hasn't worked.
Ratings plummeted. We are sorry.
The ratings completely crap the bed. And we're going to be like, right, how can we fix this? They don't want to bin off Who. Like, this happened in 1988, 1989. The ratings were down the toilet. Mm-hmm. And they went, do not screw it, and they can it. And it's like, nowadays with social media and stuff, they know they can't do that. Because if they do, it's like, you've got already people saying defund the BBC. You don't want the Whovians saying the same thing as well, do you?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of us. So they've really gone, do you know what? Okay, we'll get Russell back because, for all of you who love Moffat, I get that. I don't hate Moffat, but...
No, neither do I.
He's not Russell.
No.
They get Russell back. If they got Moffat back, I'd have been not as much excited, but still, like, okay, that's still good. But, like, because it's Russell coming back, because we know that he is so good, his era of the show is undoubtedly the best. I don't feel that you can question that. I know that I don't want to be putting opinions in people's mouths, but genuinely, I don't think you can question that.
Yeah.
And I've forgotten my point. I'm gushing about Russell.
I am really, really interested to see what Russell does with this new look that Doctor Who has now. Like, the production that Doctor Who has had over the last couple of years has been far, far better than anything we've seen. Obviously, that comes in advancement of technology and that kind of stuff. But I'm really excited to see the leaps that Russell takes this show with the new look that it's got, because I think he will just be incredible, and the cinematography will be incredible, and it will just be used to demonstrate his just complete and utter genius, like a little bit more. However, we're going to just push aside the fact that the Doctor did a front flip and some sea creature leapt like 50 feet in the air in the last episode. Because I say technologically advanced, I don't mean awful CGI.
I mean, the production is changing again. It is going into the hands of Bad Wolf, and Millennium Effects are back. Which a lot of people are happy about, and I'm like, okay, that's fine, but I don't...
Was Millennium Effects...
Millennium Effects did basically everything up till the Chibnall era.
Right.
DNEG, Double Negative, they have been doing it for the Chibnall era, and I still stand by the CGIs look the best during with DNEG. Like, I would love to see the pairing of Russell with Bad Wolf and DNEG going into this new era. It feels like the best of both worlds. The music is up for debate as well. People are saying, can we get, like, are we just going back to how it was? Can we get Murray Gold back? And I'm like, no. Sega Nakanola's work was really good. I really enjoyed it, and Murray's stuff just got so old. There is some absolutely fantastic Murray Gold work in the early series of Who, but as it got through to the Capaldi era, it was stale as hell.
I do think that the music it's still great. Like, I've not had any qualms with the music in the new series, because realistically, like, I feel like the music has always been good throughout Who. What makes it bad is the stuff that goes on top of that.
Yeah, pretty much. And like I said, my criticisms of Murray Gold over his last years was just the constant overuse of the same theme song.
Yeah.
The Doctor's theme for the Matt Smith and the Doctor's theme for Capaldi were just so overused. I really, really disliked it. Anyway, so that's, unless I've missed something, I don't think I have. That's basically all the stuff that's been happening. There's not been anything happening in Camden today, as far as I know. But we're not entirely sure when we're seeing Ncuti as the 14th Doctor. But we know that we've got David Tennant, Catherine Tate, Bernard Cribbins, and Yasmin Finney in the 60th, recording scenes for the 60th. How it pans out, like, people are saying, is it the Doctor, is it Jodie into David into Ncuti? Is it something like that?
Yeah, because
that's the thing that people are questioning and stuff like that. We don't know, and as much as we can sit here and do theories, that's not why we're here.
Yeah, no, my speculation would probably be closer to, it will be Jodie into Ncuti, but the storyline will involve him going back through something or another that requires him to be David again. I presume, but I would imagine that we would be seeing Ncuti probably around, like, the 60th, if not in the 60th.
I think it is going to be the 60th.
He's obviously not coming into play before the 60th. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do a very Capaldi-esque kind of reveal where they go, no, like, you know how they went, no, all 13, and then showed his eyebrows. I wouldn't be surprised if they did something similar to that kind of reveal with Ncuti, to be honest. Like, I think it will be incredible, and I'm really excited.
So that's a bit of housekeeping to catch up on the stuff that's happened since we were last here, and it's a lot. Like, it's crazy. It's so exciting to see what happens. And I said this on Twitter that I feel bad for Jodie because, I mean, I say that anyway, but now,
me too.
Unfortunately, no one's really going to be looking at her last special. Everyone's going to be looking way over the top of that, way past it, and just ignoring it, which is a shame.
I mean,
but
I'll watch it.
Apparently Russell said on Instagram, that there is a surprise in Jodie's last special that he knows of that is, like, big. Like, big surprise. The fact that we had Ace and Tegan appearing in the next time, we had no idea that was going to happen. Mm-hmm. Like, I know that's still big, even though I didn't recognise Tegan at first. Whoops. There's something that's going to happen in that special that's going to be absolutely massive. So we've got that to look forward to, at least. So that's going to be at some point later this year. But speaking of the Chibnall era, let's go back in time to the 19th of May 2007. We had both just turned 12.
Also, we're literally, like, a day out by, like, how many years?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wow,
It's the 18th of May 2022, and this was 19th of May 2007.
We're 15 years and a day since that episode. Crikey.
Wow.
But yeah, it's 42 time, written by current incumbent showrunner Chris Chibnall, his first episode for Doctor Who.
Which was not terrible.
No, not. I mean, we'll get to the overall feelings.
That
not
is
terrible, but yeah. And there is a question that I've already seen on Twitter about like whether we look at this episode differently because of the fact it's Chibnall.
Right. I see.
Do you know what? Let's get on with that one straight away.
Okay.
Why not? Why not? So Darcy asked on Twitter, do you look at this episode any differently after watching Chris Chibnall as a showrunner?
Do you know what? I'm not sure I do.
No.
As much as I don't enjoy Chibnall's current running of the show, I feel like this one is different because first of all, he probably would have like come up with the concept and he probably would have written a huge chunk of it, but there would have been input from Russell at the time. There would have been edits of the scripts. There would have been some slight changes. There would have been showrunner input. So Chibnall being a guest writer is far more watered down than the Chibnall we have now. So I don't feel like I look at this episode any differently because, well, I've already seen the episode a bunch of times. Mm-hmm. And so the episode is the episode. Like, up until this point, I've watched the episode not having a clue who Chris Chibnall really is. And so for me to watch the episode now and look on it as if it's Chris Chibnall, I don't feel like it changes much because it's still within the Russell era. And so I still as much as it's not a Russell concept, it is still a Russell produced episode. So I don't feel like it changes much for me because the episode is still just kind of, I wouldn't say it's particularly great and up there with like anything that is top-notch Doctor Who, but I also wouldn't say I dislike watching it.
It's one of those episodes that's fine. It's a bit of a filler
I think
episode.
it's a little bit better than fine because there have been some episodes that have just been flatline fine.
Yeah.
And I don't care for them. But this one I don't dislike watching. I mean, I enjoy the kind of concept of being picked off one by one. I enjoy the sort of, I feel like it's one of those episodes where a lot happens but not a lot happens. But yeah. It's not in a bad way so much as some of them are.
It's not egregious Chibnall.
No.
And you're right that it's filtered through Russell, who obviously was showrunner at the time, and this was Chibnall's first ever Doctor Who episode. You know, he wasn't gonna like happily cock it up. Mm-hmm. It's his first. This is writing for the show that, as much as you know, you almost think very differently with how he's been running the show. He's such a big fan of Doctor Who. He loves it. And you know, you get your first opportunity doing that, you'd really make sure that every little thing is like perfect for your debut as the writer. So 42 for me, there are definitely like echoes of the future Chibnall we have. Mm-hmm. And it was more that I was looking out for them because like rewatching it now, I would say yes, I was analysing it differently, looking at it from a lens of seeing what his future work is like. It's kind of like watching Moffat's stuff. As much as Moffat's bad stuff was still bad, but nowhere near on the level of how Chibnall's stuff went. Mm-hmm. So you'd still look at it in a slightly different way. But for 42, watching it and seeing, okay, there are moments of slow, like everything ramps down and it's just talking. And I get that the thing about this episode is you could turn around and say the pacing is just all go, and it's, as you say, a lot of stuff happens but nothing happens. Legend of the Sea Devils, literally the same thing. Loads of stuff happens and yet nothing happens. You get flung into the action, and admittedly that's the point. It's as near as damn it to real time of 42 minutes. It's not exact because a Doctor episode is 45 minutes, at least in this era. And having 3 minutes for titles, next time's credits, and also, you know, establishing it, not enough time. So there is a bit of an ellipsis of time going. But there are moments when things get toned down and they talk. And there are lines of dialogue the Doctor says. They're jokey lines of dialogue. But, like, you told him and go on, my son, and stuff like that. And it's like, it doesn't... It feels like the Doc, like those, not entirely, but those little snippets, it's like, that's somebody else. That's somebody else speaking through David Tennant's face, and it's a little bit weird. But there are points where you have dialogue, like when the Doctor's like, "Oh my God, you need to take me to medbay now. I've been infected by the sun. You need to freeze me." And Martha's just there, like talking to him. It's like, Martha, stop channeling future Jodie and actually do something.
Yeah,
please.
It was the bit when he was in the stasis chamber.
Yeah.
And he was laying there like, "You need to get it out of me, quick, freeze me." And she's like, "Calm down, breathe. Martha, just turn the bloody machine on and stop pissing about."
But in his defense, at that point in time, that's technically Chris actually using a companion's backstory to their narrative advantage in the show.
Because she's a doctor.
Which literally doesn't happen with Yaz, who's a police officer.
Literally doesn't happen with Yaz ever, and we know nothing about Yaz, despite the fact that she's been a companion for like 3-4 years now.
Yeah, so that's the
Wants to cry. Anyway.
The other thing that for me in this episode, like in terms of the wider stuff, I've got some little bits and pieces I want to talk to you about this episode. But the other thing that it's like the most memorable thing about this episode, I would argue, that when you go back and watch it again, you realise, oh, this is barely flipping relevant anymore. I thought it was way more relevant were the pub quiz questions.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really clever idea. And it's like, I kind of wish that they'd established why the questions are in place a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Because they do actually acknowledge it, because it's the thing I was thinking of. It's like, I want to know why they lock all the doors and they've got questions behind it, because I can't remember. And they do obviously say because if they get hijacked, they need to make sure they can't get to the bridge and stuff. And it's like, okay, that's actually clever. I kind of wish they'd established that beforehand. But you get, 2 questions of it happening?
3 maybe.
Two questions with time and then 1 in passing. And then it's irrelevant for the rest of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know that there's the threat of the sun monster. You've got Martha and What's-It being jettisoned and the Doctor trying to rescue them.
No, was that the captain?
No, that's the captain.
Yeah, I can't remember
what he was called.
Blendell.
And then you got the quiz questions. They're not relevant, and it's like I almost feel like it would have been so much more Doctor Who to make it so that as much as you've got a big monster running around, it's almost like a really interesting change of pace. You've got the monster running around. You've got like the crew being picked off one by one, and the Doctor getting infected as well, and like losing him to actually solve the issue, which is obviously it's not an unknown quantity in Doctor Who storytelling nowadays, that the Doctor gets put out for a bit. Christmas Invasion, he's barely in it.
Yeah.
Why couldn't they have made like the crux of the episode like a bastard hard pub quiz question?
Yeah, that would have been like, because then it would have ramped the tension up a little bit more, and you can see the timer counting down, and you can hear it going 5 minutes to impact or something. And then they are so stuck on this question. I mean, they tried to do it with the Elvis versus the Beatles,
but obviously it was a clever callback to Eccleston's Doctor souping up Rose's phone. But it's a get out of jail free card, which admittedly, again, in itself, it starts to set up more of the end game of the series with the people tapping Martha's mum's phone. And actually, one of the little details I was going to mention to you. And I noticed, I've spotted this before, and I never really thought about it until watching it now. Whereas the Doctor has, like, it's amazing how Eccleston's Doctor has the perfect size battery pack thing to stick in the back of a Nokia 3310 or whatever it is that Rose has got to make it work across the universe, time and space and whatever. And yet the 10th Doctor just sonics it.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, that's interesting. Maybe he's looked in his pockets and thought, I can't seem to cater for a Motorola Razr. I'm a bit stuffed on this one. But then I thought maybe it's the case that the Doctor's thought, okay, this is the first time the Doctor's been involved with like cell phones and stuff in his time, at least the time we've seen with him on TV. Because obviously prior to that, it was 96. I've watched the movie once. I can't remember if there's any cell phones in it.
There probably
before
wasn't.
That, 1989, so no. And it's like, because he's going to be meeting more people, because he's like sticking to like our present time on Earth, smartphones and phones are a thing, he's like, maybe I need to upgrade my Sonic to work with phones.
Yeah, he probably.
So maybe that could explain why
it's
he just
probably
Sonics
just
it.
a progression of technology. Like,
absolutely.
The jump from Rose's phone at the start of the new Who series to Martha's phone, like 2 series later, is probably. I mean, you've seen it, like you said, go from like a Nokia brick to a Motorola Razr or whatever the hell phone it is she has.
I think it's a Razr. I don't see why.
It's a flip phone of some description.
It's 2007. Like, everyone had a Motorola Razr.
Oh yeah, I had a
except me.
Motorola Razr.
I did have a Motorola Razr.
Yeah,
I
I
was a
had my
scrub.
mum's old one.
Let us know in the comments or on Twitter if you had a Motorola Razr. And did you buy the new one?
No, ew.
No.
But anyway,
Folding touchscreen, always good.
yeah. So I'm not surprised that they kind of just made it like a Sonic feature, because I mean nowadays you can't even take the batteries out of phones. So
Remember that? Dropping your phone, the back comes off and the battery comes out.
yeah,
Oh, I've got to turn my phone on again. Oh, for God's sake.
gutted.
Oh, man, to be back in 2007. My goodness. But yeah, like, back to the point in hand, I kind of wish that this quiz question became became the crux of the episode, like this 50-50 chance of getting it right, getting it wrong, and everything's screwed. Being chased by a monster, that's a given in Doctor Who.
Yeah,
And it's like they could have made it really interesting, and even made it so it became more excruciating, because I like how they framed the Beatles and Elvis Presley as classical music. And it's like, what if they did a question that was so glaringly obvious in 2007? And
something about S Club 7 or like.
I was thinking they could do something about Harold Saxon,
Yeah, that's true.
who was like when Martha's mum says it's election day, and it's like, what if they lent into that even more so and was like, who was like elected prime minister on the 19th of May 2007?
Yeah.
I would say they couldn't have done that, because they had to actually delay 42 and then subsequently the rest of the series by a week because of bastard Eurovision. So people whinge about Series 7 of Doctor Who being split into 2 because of Sherlock in the middle. It's like Series 3 got split into 2 because of bloody Eurovision.
Absolutely gutted.
Honestly. That's
Yo.
more gutting than when England came second. Anyway,
Yep.
I don't watch Eurovision. I keep up with the memes, yo. But yeah,
Anyway.
I the quiz questions, they're so like omnipresent and then they just disappear. It's like, that sounds strangely familiar to how things happen nowadays.
I feel like it was quite, like they basically just, I don't even know what, like my brain is not fathoming this thing. My thought process here, why I'm umming and ahhing so much, is I feel like they kind of cut it off by sending them into the escape pod to give us the setup for Martha's mum's phone being into what's the word I'm looking for?
Intercepted.
Yeah. For her phone being intercepted, when I feel like maybe they could have done it a bit differently, but obviously they wanted to set up the fact that they were calling a lot, but I do feel like they cut off the quiz question thing too early, because if they'd have brought it back a bit more later on with the 2 lads, then they could have had it to be a bit more, because she's the captain's off distracting Corwin.
Yes.
I wanted to say Corvin, but it's not. It's Corwin, isn't it? She's off distracting Corwin. Ashton is just gone, dead. Kaput.
Yeah, he just disappears.
Because
That's really strange.
they tried to freeze Corwin and it worked to an extent and then stopped. And yet she put him in the stasis chamber, froze him, and then all of a sudden he's just gone. He's not even in the room. He's just
unless he
not
was
there.
in the shots of David Tennant there, but I don't think he was.
No, he's not.
He
Because
just
I was looking
disappears.
for him. I literally was like, hang on a minute, wasn't Ashton in the stasis chamber? And then all of a sudden he's not anymore.
All they had to do when they dragged the Doctor up there was just pull a
Put his
corpse out
body
of
in the side, yeah.
out of the chamber and chuck in the Doctor. Like, it wasn't hard to give that a bit more
No.
context.
But,
yeah, so there's definitely a few things where, as we've said, a lot happens and then not much happens, and you get these distractions. You get Martha and Matey in the escape pod. You get
They totally should have banged.
we'll get to that. Like you get the two, the sun creature going into Ashton as well, and then Ashton disappearing, and all that sort of stuff. It's like it's a bit of a mess. It's not. It's like it sounds conceptually like a focused plot, like concept, but it just gets a bit more muddled as things go. I would normally question this idea as like usually when the Doctor just rocks up somewhere, irrelevant of whether they're like what stage or what state the crew, the ship, the planet, whatever it's in. Normally the Doctor can't just pull rank, and yet here he does. Admittedly, they're 42 minutes from death, so that would explain. I'd explain why no one seems to question it. It's like if the Doctor shows that he can be of help, that's probably why they trust him straight away. Apart from Ashton, before he gets turned, that he's like, I only take my orders from the captain. Screw you.
That wasn't Ashton.
Yes, it was.
No, that was the other guy. The guy who's alive at the end, not the one in the pub with Martha. That was the other guy.
No, that was Ashton.
No, I'm pretty sure it was the other guy.
The bald one.
No.
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought that was him who said that.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, either way. But yeah, so there is that element that you could potentially look at and go, nah, that's not really. Yeah, normally people question that more, but again, they're very close to death.
I was going to say, if somebody turns up when you're 42 minutes away from dying and goes, I'm pretty sure I can fix this, and you've all just got to listen to me, you're not exactly going to turn around and be like, hang on a minute, what gives you the authority?
And
you're just going to be like, okay, sure.
As much as there is the aspect of the Doctor being infected by the sun, which actually reveals what happened, what McDonald did to make the sun so angry and infiltrate the ship, it's weird to think that when the Doctor's interrogating her, grilling her in the med bay, that even at this point, 20 minutes, 10 minutes from death, does she not just admit it?
Yeah, you would think, because I would.
Like, if it's illegal, which it is, the plasma scoop, whatever they called it.
Plasma scoop.
It was something like that.
Yeah.
Fusion scoop or something. Like, even if they got out of it, the Doctor, like, obviously I know she doesn't know who the Doctor is, but the Doctor's not going to like dob her in for it. He lets Lady Christina de Souza escape in Planet of the Dead, so why does the Doctor care?
I mean,
but it's weird to think that she doesn't actually just admit it, because she knows.
Yeah.
As much as she still wears it when she's like, no, I don't know anything, you can see that there is something.
Yeah. And I feel like if you were that close to crashing into the sun and there was this raging sun monster that you full well knew had killed your husband and was plodding around killing your crew, you would just be like, bro, I messed up. Like, I'm really sorry, but this is what I did. I fix it.
Because at that point in time, it's like, what have you got to lose? As far as
your
you're
options
aware,
are either prison or death.
As far as you're aware, you're dead.
Yeah.
So
basically,
what difference does it make? And then she jettisons herself with her husband anyway, and Ashton just disappears.
Yeah.
And then the quiz questions get relayed to like nothing. So
apart from what's your favourite colour, orange or purple?
It's purple, apparently.
Yeah, well.
So something that has been mentioned on the questions on Twitter, but also just it's a general thing, and looking at it, you can very much see why. I think it's yes, Jay mentioned on Twitter that the design, the whole aesthetic of this episode is very, very similar to the Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit.
Which I always get confused.
He asks specifically, do you think the set design for the episode should have been different? Not many people remember this episode. And again, every time we talk about when we were getting around to doing the podcast and you're asking what episode it is, and I say 42 and you go, which one? Huh? I'm like, the quiz questions and the sun. Oh yeah. Because they very much meld into one.
Yeah.
But the reasoning for that is because apparently this was going to be set in the same era as Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit, hence why the aesthetic is so similar. Apparently Ood were considered for the script. I think that might have been one of like Russell's like tick boxes for Chibnall. Like, it's got to be aesthetically, it's got to be like this. And Ood have to be in there, but actually no, scrap that, don't worry about that. But like, yeah, that was apparently what the plan was, hence why aesthetically it looks so similar. Hence why the spacesuit is the exact same painted red.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like I always get them confused, like literally every single time, no matter whenever we're talking about it. If we're talking about the Satan Pit, the Impossible Planet, or if we're talking about 42, I'm like, which one's the one with the burn with me and which one's the one with the ood? Like,
Yeah.
I'm forever getting them confused. And so it's not just you. Is it Jay? Is that who you said it was? Jay on
Yes.
Twitter? It's
Yes.
not just you, Jay, on Twitter. It is quite literally everybody gets these two confused.
There were some reused things, like the stasis chamber was the same as the MRI machine used in Smith and Jones. They just painted that red as well. And
Yeah.
this is something I noticed in this, and it's like it's a given, but sometimes they manage to mask it, they manage to hide it quite well when they're actually acting. So the panels on the walls, like the screens and stuff, you know how you've got like the big touchpad with the keys on it and blah 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 blah, and then beneath it there's some little displays saying like here's some random numbers and gobbledygook on all these panels around the ship. That's like one display behind like a shroud.
Yeah.
That when they've obviously designed and put the graphics onto the display, they've made it so it's like separated out, but it looks like loads of different screens. Anyway, in this episode, it's the most I've noticed it in Doctor Who, and I can really keep on top of it now and see if I can see it anywhere else. It's you know when you're a kid and you get your first ever flat screen display. I remember when I had my old PC going from a big old CRT playing Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 to having a flat screen and being like, oh my god, I have one of those horrible metal computer desks with the slide out keyboard tray.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anything worse nowadays. Good God.
No.
But like I remember going to my first ever flat screen and being like, it's oh my god, there's so much space. And you have to give your first screen a little poke and you can see all the colours go weird and stuff like that. You see that so much in this episode. Big gloved hands from Ashton, and then all the other cast doing it, and you just see the screen like warping behind them, like typing on this weird like round QWERTY keyboard and stuff like that. It's a little production detail that I kind of love.
Yeah,
The fact that it's so easy to see how they did it, that sort of schlockiness of Doctor Who.
Yeah, I mean, like, it dates it, but not in a horrible way. I think it's kind of charming. And
I mean, that's what Doctor Who is. The fact they used
charm.
bubble wrap painted green back in the Tom Baker era for, I can't remember the episode name off the top of my head, but it's a pretty, like, infamous bit of Doctor Who special effects and, like, set design and stuff.
Yeah.
But seeing those displays get warped and stuff, if you didn't spot that when you're watching this through with this podcast, go back and have a look when matey Ashton is sending out Martha and what's it in the escape pod. You can just see him mauling the screen. And every single time it cut to a shot of Martha and Thingy in that pod. Your words, Amy.
Oh, they should bang.
Yeah.
Bang him. I think it's what I said, actually.
Every single time. Bang him, do him, kiss him.
Because, well, first of all, the episode ends with them snogging each other's faces off, which is just great. But if you had basically like 5 minutes or whatever they had to live, and you think you're going to die, and you're in an escape pod with a fit girl and a fit guy, and you are both up for it, stick some PP and some for JJ and call it a day, my friend. Like,
Amy, this is a Christian podcast.
but would you not?
No, you are
bang?
fully right. There was definitely that vibe going on. Like, he's a very innocent character, but there were definitely points when he's looking at it thinking, this could happen.
I could
like,
get some.
Kisses her on the forehead when she hugs him after she's rang her mum. It's kind of like, oh, he's going to try it. He's going to do it. And obviously, Chibnall went on and did Torchwood before he did Doctor Who. And I said to you, if this was Torchwood, they'd be doinking right now.
Oh, yeah. Cheeky tickle in the back, like, you know.
This podcast is over. In the 8 years that I've been with you, at no point have you called it a cheeky tickle in the back.
Cheeky tickle in the back. Oh, no, I meant a cheeky tickle in the back of the pod, not a cheeky tickle in the back.
No. I'm taking your first answer.
No.
You were implying that Martha likes it in the bum.
No.
You heard it here first, folks.
Maybe he likes it in the bum. I never said who was tickling who.
Whatever floats your goat. Let's just, yeah.
Exactly.
So, funnily enough, listeners, that's actually one of my kinks. I want to do it in an escape pod.
What? Cheeky tickle in the bum?
Cheeky tickle in my back, please.
Okay, why not? I mean...
Well, fun fact, we're going on a cruise on our honeymoon, and they have lifeboats, which is close enough.
No, we're not going on a cruise. I like cruises, but we're not.
I've never been on one.
Oh, they're great. Highly recommend.
No. But back to Martha getting tickled in her bum. Right at the end of the episode, when they leave and he's saying, there's never been someone I could really trust. And then suddenly it's like, it could be Martha because, we've just had this near-death experience together and I didn't get my willy wet in an escape pod. Damn, I need to try again. And it kind of like, implicitly pops to that sort of question, like, can we make this a thing? Will I see you again? Etc., etc., etc. And there's as much as Martha reciprocates, and they obviously kiss before she boards the TARDIS and leaves.
Take him with you.
No, there's a part of me that wanted her to be a bit like, oh, that's a bit sudden, isn't it? And almost be a bit of like a bit of a taste of her own medicine. Yeah. And I know that obviously that's not the direction her arc went, and I'm not saying that should have been where it went, but it's like that could have been. We're kind of just always discussing how things could have been a bit more interesting. Like, make the quiz questions the crux. This could have been her being like, no, wait, this is what I'm like with him. Mm-hmm. Like, oh my god. And then she just jumps on the TARDIS and says something, and the Doctor's looking all moody.
I'm a manic obsessive weirdo.
Like, oh, so this is what it feels like. I can see why he's not been reciprocating my advances. Maybe I shouldn't bother. But then again, it leads to some good jokes with Captain Jack in Utopia, which we'll get to. So
yeah,
there's that. And like, finally, on the implicit things to discuss, did you know that if a sun is sentient, it's also a closet sexist?
Eh?
Yeah.
What?
Well, look at it this way. The sun only infects men and kills women.
Are you chatting some crap right now?
No, I'm deadly serious.
You are chatting
right?
Crap.
Infects what's his name again? Corwin. Infects Corwin. Kills the medic, which was, funnily enough, played by Annette Robinson, who went on to play Rosa.
Yeah.
I thought I recognised her.
Oh,
kills her, then goes and kills
He does kill a guy.
Well,
he kills Ashton to use him.
Technically, yes, but like infects Ashton, like technically keeps his body alive, but then kills both the women. Infects Ashton, infects the Doctor, and it's like
maybe.
And obviously, I know that McDonnell like kills her, sacrifices herself.
Maybe Chibnall is the sexist.
I mean, that's kind of implied. I wouldn't overtly say that, but it is like, okay, yeah. So
my opinions are my own opinions.
The men stay like unvaporized. Okay, that's a good decision to make.
I feel like it's probably because women's screams are more terrifying. Because if you had a man screaming, going, it doesn't sound quite the same.
Is that how men scream, Amy? Is that how it works?
That's more Voldemort than anything else.
Yeah.
But, it doesn't sound quite the same as a female scream. I mean, why do you think female screams are always used in horror films? Because it's more terrifying and more high-pitched. So the fact that the medic was a woman is kind of like, okay, first one of the bunch. I can see that. The fact that the second one was a woman was because she was stupid and muted her microphone. So, I mean, really, she
as soon as she pressed it, it's like, well, she's dead.
She's
see
dead.
You later, mate.
But I think you're looking too much into that. And
I know. I'm fully joking.
We're going to fully just ignore that.
Well, actually, I'm gonna bring that straight back up again, because CS on Twitter asks, how do you think the episode would have been received if it were released today? Because this is, as we've kind of sort of agreed, this is a very middling episode of Who. It's not bad, it's not good, it's not like super memorable, hence why I've got to remind you which one it is all the time. Again, the similarities to Impossible Planet Satan Pit, like visually, definitely don't help it. But like, if this were released today, it's kind of, it's the beauty of this podcast, is it's like, we do have nostalgia goggles on, but I try not to have them on at all times. Mm-hmm. Usually I have them, if the nostalgia goggles are on, we make it very clear that usually it's because we're simping over somebody.
But then I feel like we're very good at separating nostalgia from quality.
But I think the way that I've mentioned things today, the way that like the quiz questions get pushed aside, the plot holes with Ashton just somehow disappearing, and the plot getting distracted and stuff, I think it would still be a very like standard, like not forgettable, but it's just an episode that's there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it would be received probably much the same as a lot of Chibnall's episodes have been received, which is just,
Show's dead, I think the show's dead. I think there'd be more people complaining about the fact the captain of the ship's a woman.
No, I don't think so.
Oh no, this day and age, absolutely. Let's not question the kind of people you get whinging about Doctor Who.
I feel like it wouldn't be moaning that the captain was a woman so much, because I feel like that's kind of the whole... It's difficult because the captain's not a title character. I feel like it would have just been kind of like, yeah, okay, yeah. But I feel like the reason people moan about the Doctor being a woman is because it's just a very different reason to why they would moan about the captain being a woman. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're moaning for the sake of moaning, basically. And
absolutely.
I don't think it would have been received quite so bigoted, because I feel like it's just an episode that would have been forgotten.
Yeah.
And so I think it would have been received much the same as kind of some of Chibnall's. I think the dialogue would have been criticised for it being this, that, and the other. But if the episode had been written today, it would have been written solely by Chibnall. And so therefore
there'd have probably been a lot more baggage going on.
Yeah, you can never determine how something would be received, because you can't take the exact thing and plonk it in today. No. It's not really feasible to... But I think it would have just been kind of like, it's fine. Take it, move on.
This episode was literally released 10 years before he took over as the showrunner.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's a whole different kettle of fish. But now, something that both Misha and Melissa have said on Twitter, and I'll read out Misha's question because Melissa just kind of references it.
Yeah.
So Misha asks, is this the first reboot episode where the Doctor is in actual intense danger? What are your thoughts on this episode concept in terms of serving to humanise the Doctor, particularly for a companion who is as smitten with him as Martha? And they continue to say that Midnight did it better, which I'd agree with, yes.
To humanise the Doctor, do you mean mortalise the Doctor?
I think that's probably what they mean, yeah.
Right, I was going to say...
But I do understand, like, humanising, mortalising, like, yeah.
Sorry, what? I'm confused. What was the question again?
So basically it's like, is this the first instance in the new series, the new era, where the Doctor feels, like, fully, like, gonna kick it?
Yeah, I think so.
I think narratively, it's almost like every week the Doctor finds themselves in a position where they're going to be in grave danger. But this is, I think, the thing that sets this apart. Like, when you look at somebody like Eccleston, when he's put in these positions, I think back to the Parting of the Ways, when it's the Emperor saying coward or killer, and he just fully chickens out and he's like, I can't do this. Mm-hmm. Like, feeling so lost on it. Like, the Doctor, he sends Rose away, he knows it's a losing battle. This, like, the Doctor being sat in the or laid in the cryo chamber, being like, I'm scared.
Yeah.
That I've not brought it up because I knew it was being brought up in questions, but like, that is quite. It's almost like, because this episode gets so overlooked, it is a pretty punchy thing, alongside like setting up the latter half of series 3. Mm-hmm. It is a punchy moment that gets lost to time.
Definitely. I think it's one of my more... I don't know. Is it one of my... It's kind of difficult because I think it's a really, really poignant moment for his character to admit that he is scared of something, because it doesn't happen very often.
No.
And... yeah, so that's where the kind of humanization aspect of it comes in, is like, he really is truly terrified he's gonna die or be overtaken by this thing. And so What was the original question? I'm a little bit like, I've lost the
I'll
question.
read it again. So, is this the first reboot episode where the Doctor is in actual intense danger? What are your thoughts on this as an episode concept in terms of serving to humanise the Doctor?
Right, I see. I like it. I do think it's like the first time we've probably been concerned for the Doctor's fate, and the fact that you've got that ticking clock in the background kind of adds to the intensity of the moment. But the fact that it's also something he can't fight off by being an alien, because that seems to happen a lot, is that he's just, oh, I'm an alien, I can fight this off, it's fine.
I can shake out all the radiation from my foot. What
Yeah.
episode was that? Oh, that was Smith and Jones, wasn't it? Yeah, it was, I think. To see the MRI machine.
Yes, with
That
the
sort of
straw
stuff.
bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Straw bitch.
But
yeah, I definitely think it is the case, because obviously we've seen the Doctor, as I said, like parting of the ways as an example, up against a threat that's gonna end him. But with it being the Daleks and stuff, like when it's a really big threat, we know it's a thing. It's like when the Doctor's on the town called Christmas on Trenzalore. I think that was right. And it's like, we know that this is the end of the Doctor. Like, that's a given, but this is, as much as we know it's not going to happen, it's one of the more convincing moments where you think, wait, this could actually happen. Like, this could genuinely happen. So, yeah, it's definitely one of those episodes that does that. And I think bringing that up again, that point where the Doctor's feeling really scared, obviously it wouldn't have necessarily worked with the escape pod because of Martha not being able to be there with him when he's saying, like, I'm scared, because he wouldn't have admitted that to the captain or to whoever else. But it's like, if they hadn't had the escape pod thing in, they had, like, if Corwin had woken up by this point and was making his way to the med bay, we had the two guys at the front trying to get past this crux question that was really difficult, and you had that happening at the same time as Thingy banging on the door and the Doctor saying he's really scared. Like, if they managed to almost align all of those big threats and make it all punch into this one, like, concentrated 5-minute segment, it would have made the stakes feel really high. But they kept like ramping it up. It's like waves. It was like, and it's ramped up. Oh no, they've rectified it. Oh, it's ramped up again. Oh no, it's gone again. It just it felt muddled. It felt unfocused. And it's like, if they literally just aligned everything, it could have been a lot punchier of an episode.
Yeah.
Like all those moments where there were, when Corwin at the beginning was in the stasis chamber and his hands were moving to signify that he was alive. I don't know what it is. Just the music obviously implies that it's like, this is where you should be like, oh dear, the guy's still alive. But his hands were just like flopping down to his sides. It was as if he was like relaxing his muscles. If he was like, they showed both of his fists like tensing,
stiffening up,
it would have been different to be like, it's aggressive. This just looks like he's like, meh. And then the moment when McDonald pulls Corwin out of the airlock and they fly into the sun, like those kind of big hits, they don't really land. Because there's so much like, it's not hammy, it's just nothing's been built up enough for it to actually land and really, really work. So
yeah, I feel that.
It's unfocused, it's not terrible, it's passable, it's fine.
Yeah.
But and obviously the main thing is like, does this overtly echo what's coming? And in retrospect, not really. There are definitely little chibisms. Chiblets. That was what I called it.
Chiblets. Chibnall's unfired guns. Except
definitely,
in this episode, he didn't have any unfired guns.
He just had underfired guns.
Yeah,
Quiz
underused. He definitely
unfired, underfired.
Everything he aimed, he shot, but he did not hit the target.
Yeah, I guess
That's probably the best analogy we'll go for.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a bit of a muddled mess, and it's like, in retrospect, that there are definitely chiblets to look forward to. I say look forward to, but like you can see that arrive in full force when he's not got any boundaries. He can just do what he wants. But at the time, it's like, okay, it's an episode of Doctor Who. That's kind of what it is. 42, as much as you have the setup for what's coming in the final 3-parter, and there's a bit of sort of some character development for Martha, but otherwise, yeah, it's an episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah,
But we're getting through the series now because next up, we have got Human Nature and the Family of Blood.
Yes. I like these episodes.
It's weird. It's like they're the episodes that it's obviously it's one of the best two-parters in Russell T Davies' era, and yet it's also the episodes that I almost don't ever think of.
No, not at all.
I'm excited to go back to these.
Yeah,
and watch them again.
The concept and where we come into the episode, if I remember rightly.
Yes,
is so
and the performances as well.
Yeah, it's so
good grief.
What's the word I'm looking for? It throws you off so much because you come in and you're like, hang on, what the hell is going on? And it's I love it. I love these next two-parter. I think it's a great two-parter.
The rest of this series, as much as we're going to be obviously reviewing it on this podcast anyway, we've got some bangers. Literally, Human Nature, Family of Blood, so two-parter, so ready for next time. Get them both watched because we don't do individual episodes, we do stories as a whole.
Yeah.
Then we've got Blink.
Blink.
Which is literally the best episode of New Who.
Yes.
Overall.
Yes. Agreed.
Dalek is up there for me as well, obviously.
Blink is just so good.
And then we have Utopia, Sound of Drums, Last of the Time Lords. So it's like, it's... Yeah, we'll look at Series 3 as a whole when we get to the end of the series and we talk about those last 3 episodes. But it's like we have got some back-to-back bangers coming our way. That probably doesn't help 42 that it's like kind of stuck in the middle of like, okay.
Again, it's one of those episodes that was a filler because it needed to be there, basically, wasn't it?
But it wasn't a filler like Boomtown.
No.
Don't ever underestimate Boomtown.
No, it wasn't.
That's a paddling. Boomtown is good. Don't at me.
It was more of a filler like brain.
Episode.
Brain.
Is that filler brain? Okay, Amy's brain's turned to mush. I think that's time we called it.
The one with the scribbles.
Oh, Fear Her. No, Fear Her was just bad.
No, that's what I mean. It's not a filler like Fear Her, but it's not a filler like Boomtown. It's just randomly kind of in the middle too.
What could you compare it? I'm trying to think what you could compare it to. Lazarus Experiment, literally the episode that came before it.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, that is about all we have time for today. So if you would like to send in more questions, I'll obviously do the little prompt on Twitter over on @Kasterpod on the Twitters, or if you're watching on YouTube, or listening on YouTube, I should say, then let us know in the comments below any questions you've got for Human Nature and the Family of Blood. That is the right way around, I believe. Yeah. I always get them mixed up. Please do let us know those questions on the old socials. And speaking of the old socials, Amy, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram @Ames_Elizabeth.
And you can find me on Twitter and on Instagram @PickupChangeToe. And on YouTube, if you're listening on, a podcast platform, just search Rich Hudson and you'll find me. And I talk about Doctor Who and stuff because, that's what we do here as well. It's
pretty cool.
But thank you all very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed our excitement for what's to come next year and also talking back about 42. I really appreciate all of you guys listening to us and supporting us. Thank you for not hounding us. It's always appreciated. I'll always say it. Thank you very much, folks. Thank you very much for listening. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Take care. Yes. We'll see you soon. Human Nature, Family of Blood. It's coming your way. Take care. See ya.
Bye.